when this token drops in 2026, Aerodrome holders are going to get 94.5% of the new token supply, and the Velodrome holders will get a smaller percentage than that, just based on total market cap. But really, the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, here is that now you have Aerodrome being able to take additional liquidity and become a liquidity hub for Ethereum's Layer 2 ecosystem, right?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Wagmi TV. We've got a cool one for you guys today. We're talking Aerodrome. Big announcements last week coming out of their event in New York City. So they hosted an incredible event out in New York and had some very interesting new announcements with a new token and everything. We're going to cover the details. We're going to cover the chart, everything in this episode. So without further ado, pass it off to Mata to get into the chart, and then we'll go into more of the announcement news.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can be pretty quick on this. I know we talk about this chart, I'd say probably once every couple weeks. So just kind of checking in on that. Really, this is similar to what you all have seen. We haven't really changed much as far as the markups on this chart. I think what still continues to be kind of like our zone of support here is right between 74 cents and 80 cents. We've seen us kind of drop down and hit this now a couple times since making a big rush up there in August. And we're really kind of seeing this form a little bit more of this wedge from the previous high at the end of December. So we're really checking in on this. Obviously, to stay bullish, we want to make sure that we're not dropping above that 74-cent level and confirming below that, because then the next level of resistance would be down in that 48 cents-ish area. But if we can stay within this is essentially wedge that's forming between this downsloping trend line and this zone. What we're going to do is hopefully break above that and go and attack this $1.29 level and continue to see this thing move higher. And hopefully, a couple months from now, we can look back at this as a nice bull flag that went really well for us. So that's what we're seeing both on the bullish and bearish side of Aerodrome. So definitely interested to get into the event and some of the fundamentals.
Yeah, love it. Great chart analysis, and we'll kind of dive into what the latest announcement is here. I will pull up this update, but essentially the really big news is that Aerodrome and Velodrome, so Base and Optimism chains, are going to merge into something called Aero. It's going to be a cross-chain DEX across Ethereum and Base. And essentially what's going to happen is when this token drops in 2026, Aerodrome holders are going to get 94.5% of the new token supply, and the Velodrome holders will get a smaller percentage than that, just based on total market cap. But really, the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, here is that now you have, Aerodrome being able to take additional liquidity and become a liquidity hub for Ethereum's Layer 2 ecosystem, right? So instead of just taking away some of the demand from other base dexes, now it's going to be pulling a lot more from the ETH Layer 2 ecosystem, and we're kind of getting a cross unification there across both of the chains. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of helps pump up the usability of Aero as a whole, and then also the kind of total volume that's going to come their way. So it's going to be interesting to see how that actually affects both projects, and obviously super bullish for Aero, considering they already have, some of the highest TVL on Base, and now they're going to get to compete cross-chain as well and bring some of that liquidity into the ecosystem. So definitely very interesting. And I know Soe has some kind of behind the scenes, updates on how their event went as well.
Yeah, guys. That's a great overview of kind of what they announced, and a lot to get into there. Curious to get everyone's thoughts on the actual announcement, but the event itself was really cool. Here, if I share my screen, and we can link this in the description for those who want to go watch it. But actually, the full recording of the whole event is actually tweeted out. Dromos Labs, which is kind of like the labs company behind Aerodrome, kind of hosted this whole thing. You can see it has almost 50,000 views on it. It was at an awesome venue in New York City, and had really kind of, if you've been following this channel from the beginning where we started covering Aerodrome, a lot of what we talk about comes from the ecosystem and the project ecosystem that they've built up in terms of projects that are willing to, partner with them, host liquidity, obviously buy and lock, VE Aero, all of those things that we've been touching on, over call it the last year and a half to 2 years since we started covering the project. And that's what was really highlighted if you go back and watch this announcement, is they had features from a ton of their partner protocols, a ton of high value folks coming in and talking about how Aerodrome, specifically has been awesome to partner with and awesome to work with. And so I think that's, leading them into this kind of expansion where they're seeing, okay, we obviously, we've kind of conquered the liquidity layer on base. Like, how do we further grow to new chains and new L2s and things like that? So that's, kind of my experience in terms of, watching this. It's obviously it's almost like a 6-hour event. It was like a full day kind of thing. But if you guys go, and obviously we'll link it, if you go and kind of just scroll through it and listen to kind of what they're saying, it's very interesting. So yeah, curious to get your guys' takes. Obviously, they're trying to provide, value for Aerodrome holders. Obviously, 95% of the total supply of the new token is going to those folks. So curious to get your guys' thoughts on, what you think of this announcement and yeah, just generally.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I think it's very bullish for Aerodrome when you look at Aerodrome versus Velodrome because of the amount of revenue that Aerodrome does. I think this is going to benefit Aero holders probably more than Velo holders. So I think that's an interesting thing to call out right away. The other part about the cross-chain stuff is that it's also going to Ethereum. So I believe there's been call outs about integrating with Circle and Circle Arc, which is like their stablecoin optimized protocol. So I think it's super exciting because they're able to tap in to the larger market that is the L1 Ethereum TVL protocols, and be able to capture tokens that only live on Ethereum, or connect with pools that only live on Ethereum. So yeah, I think it's exciting for obviously Velodrome and being able to get into some of the optimism TVL that lives on that L2. But I think more importantly, it's bringing in TVL from the L1.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out, especially for if they're able to kind of bring stable coin ecosystem into that as well. So I think that's really interesting stuff. Anything else from the squad boys on this?
Yeah, I think one other thing I just wanted to call out, which is not necessarily related to some of the stuff coming out of the conference, but more just announcements from Aerodrome in general, is the fact that Aerodrome has started to do buybacks. So, within the last couple weeks here, we've seen Aerodrome do a 580K Aero tokens buyback. And so this is something that we've seen across other protocols, especially like Hyperliquid. I know they're super famous for the amount of buybacks they do with their revenue. But yeah, this is also very bullish for Aero as well, that the protocol is, taking some of the revenue and to buy back Aero. So I think that's the other thing that we're seeing that's bullish for Aero at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more and more protocols start developing this model because people are looking for some actual fundamental drivers of value. And when you have super profitable protocols, Aerodrome's a great example. Like, just obviously earning tons of fees with swaps and things like that. Like, it makes a lot of sense to do something like that. We'll see how this manifests in the price action, though. Obviously, it's been kind of a rocky road the last couple of weeks, but we'll see if some of these bullish announcements have any impact.
Awesome. I think with that we'll wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you found this entertaining and helpful. Obviously, not financial advice. Do your own research and like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Right? Are you bullish on Aero going into 2026? I think a lot is pointing in the right direction, but also there's things to be concerned about from a macro level. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And until next week, Wagmi.